was normal for us at the start of the year, in just a few months, everything drastically changed for all Americans, including those in retirement or planning to retire soon. And you're probably asking yourself, well, what's our new normal? That's what we're going to talk about today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. Thanks for joining us. Jen Rizak here alongside Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. And today, Philip, we're going to talk about our new normal. And before we get into that, I just want to say something that I've learned about myself lately, Philip, is I am not as good at making transitions and adapting as I thought I was, or as I always thought I was. Because when things were first shut down and the idea of working remotely and working from home was first put out there, I thought, there's no way, can't do this, not going to happen with kids at home. What a nightmare. But then, Philip, as things started to open back up and that idea was introduced of going back to work, the idea of getting dressed, fixing my hair, being somewhere by 8 o'clock in the morning was just appalling to me. Like, how do I make this adjustment again? And Philip, if it's that hard for me to make a transition in a few weeks, how hard is it for people to make a transition if they've been doing something for 40 years and now they have to change everything going into retirement?
It can be difficult,
Change
Jen.
is hard,
It
yeah.
really can. But thankfully, most people don't have to transition into retirement and out of retirement, right? So we've had to transition into stay at home to transition out to back to work. And so I think that is a little bit more problematic and you're younger than I am. So, it's problematic to folks as far as psychology and getting your head wrapped around it and just making those changes. But you're right. It is when people transition in anything, it's a change.
Yeah.
And dealing with that change can have its issues that people have to work through.
It is a big transition. It is difficult. And I think we've gotten a little taste in that lately, Philip, of trying to adapt and do things differently. And I guess it's been a little bit of a lesson for all of us. But as we talk about the new normal, that's the main thing we want to talk about today, the new normal when it comes to retirement planning. Is there a new normal? Do we even know yet? I mean, how can we expect to retire when the rules are constantly changing and there's so much that just seems to be in flux?
Well, you know what? I really think that, do we have a new normal in our life? Yes. Is there a new normal when it comes to retirement planning? I don't know that there really is, other than maybe people get a wake-up call every now and then like this. Because the danger zone is still the danger zone, right? That 10 years prior to retirement and that 10 years after retirement. That 20-year time span is the danger zone. And Jen, that hasn't changed. Now what we do and how we focus and maybe some transitions we have to make may be a little different, but that hasn't changed. We're still have that danger zone that people need to be cognizant of and need to make sure that they are doing the things they need to do as they get closer and closer to retirement. And that's take risk off the table. That hasn't changed, Jen.
So do you think we can expect more changes to retirement planning in the future? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but you've seen a lot of changes over your years doing this. Any educated guesses as to what might change in the future?
I would hope that there would be some changes, because if people who are now ready to retire, getting close to retirement, they can remember back now 12 years ago, right, to 2008. And they weren't really concerned then. They were still putting money away and they still had time on their hands. And that's not the case now. Now we are transitioning. People that are in that 10-year window are transitioning into retirement. And so I think this has allowed people to rethink what retirement really looks like and how much risk they've been taking that they shouldn't have been taking, right? So there's this risk that people are taking that they don't realize that they need to shift gears. And that's a big problem when it comes to transitioning into retirement, is that so many people have been doing the same thing they've been doing now for umpteen years, and they haven't switched gears. And that's a problem right now.
Talk a little bit about those who are thinking about retiring in the next 5 to 10 years and they're approaching this transition time. What should they be doing right now?
Yeah, they should be reevaluating their portfolio. Jen, a lot of times I feel like a broken record. On my daily show, I talk every day about risk and taking risk off the table and not having too much risk in the portfolio. And sometimes I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, or I feel like I'm just, I'm beating people up, and that's not the idea. We're here to serve the community and to be here for them and help them transition into retirement. And so the one thing that I know that we can control in a portfolio is risk. I can't control the markets, and nobody out here can. And if they think they can, that should be a big red flag for you. But we can control risk. Unfortunately, we saw that 12-year upswing in the market, and not enough people started to make changes before this last major downturn. They were kind of lulled into that comfort of, oh, the market just goes up, the market just goes up, until it doesn't. And so I think that becomes an issue, is that we need to make sure that we are managing our risk properly. That's probably the biggest thing that I see that's not happening even today, is people are not properly managing the risk. Folks, whether you're ready to retire now or it's just on your horizon in the next few years, folks, give our team a call here at Statler Financial and let us help you assess your situation. Where will you get that monthly check from to pay your expenses? And how have you planned to take care of taxes and inflation and healthcare costs? Will you and your loved ones be okay? Should something happen to you outside of your control? These are the questions we ask and that we seek to really find answers for. My team here at Statler Financial can run different scenarios just to see how your retirement plan might react, because you'd rather be proactive than reactive once a real challenge is encountered. Give us a call, 863-285-3815 right now, just to request a 15-minute phone consultation, just to see where you are and where we might be able to help if we can, right? So give us a call, 863-285-3815. It's always best to plan ahead, especially for retirement. Let us help you. Give us a call at 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, and I'm Jen Rezac alongside. Philip, let's talk a little bit about where we're going to be getting our income in retirement, because as we have seen over the past few months, income is a big deal, and we need to make sure that when we have a time where we're leaving our paychecks behind in retirement, that we have a way to have that income. Where do most people get that income for retirement now?
Well, the first thing people think about is Social Security, right? That's the first place that we see about getting our income. Well, here's the problem. That was never made to be 100% of your retirement income. We talk a lot about this on the show, but the three-legged stool that doesn't exist really anymore for most people. And that three-legged stool, if you remember, was Social Security was one leg, pension was another leg, and then you fill up the rest of it as a third leg. Well, now a lot of people don't have pensions. They don't exist for a lot of people out there. And so we have Social Security, which is going to plug in about maybe 40% of your income need. So the question becomes, where's that other 60% going to be coming from? Because you got to make up that difference somewhere. And so that means you've got to be able to take it out of your 401k, your IRAs, your investments to plug that hole. And so that's the thing, is that people need to be able to create their own pension, their own income stream. And that's a big deal when folks get ready to retire.
It is a big deal when people are getting ready to retire. And the other thing that's a big deal is how much is enough. When you look at what you've been saving all these years, how do you know that you have enough to retire? Is there a ballpark figure? Is there, $1 million? Is something like that enough today?
That's probably I would say one of the misnomers out there. You always hear, well, I need $1 million to retire. I need $1 million to retire. Well, do you really? Have you actually run the calculation to see what you need? That's what I think people don't. They read the articles, they listen to the press and the media, and they listen to the industry, and those folks are not always right, guys. And so, everybody's different, and what they need is going to be different from the guy down the street or their neighbor. And so until you sit down with somebody and run the numbers, you're not going to know what you need in retirement. That's what we do. That's why folks hire us. That's why people come see us, is so that they can figure out what that gap is that we need to fill, and then how we're going to fill it.
So, are there some ways to help fill that gap, or what are your ideas to help generate income or fill those gaps in a retirement plan?
It is creating the income plan, right? And so there are different tools out there. And that's one of the advantages of working with the independent advisors. They have all the tools that are necessary right at their hands. They're not reporting to the company store about what they can and can't put into place, what tools they can and can't use, as I often see. And so, one thing that we use a lot in our income plans is an annuity. Annuities were created for one thing: create income. That's the whole idea, is to use them to create income. And so there are other ways. Dividend portfolios are used. There's all kinds of different things that we use to create that income. And so it's why we have people sit up and put together an actual income plan. That's it. The question is, do you have enough to retire? And everybody says, well, I'm not sure. You can be sure, though. If you have an income plan put into place, then you can get rid of a lot of that uncertainty in what's going to happen in terms of your income. So let us help you. Let us put together that income plan so that you have a peace of mind heading into retirement that, hey, I don't have to worry about my income. I've got it taken care of. Or if you've already retired, are you sure that the plan you got in place is going to give you income for the rest of your life? Or do you have a bunch of products out there that you're taking income from this mutual fund, or from that variable annuity, or from this annuity? Do you have a plan, or you just have a bunch of products that you're taking money from? Let us help you sort all that out. Give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Do it right now. Put us on your team. Let us help coach you into and through retirement. That's 863-285-3815.
You can't plan for a 21st century retirement with 20th century concepts. So how can you implement modern strategies for today's retirement, given everything that's changing as we define our new normal? We'll talk about that on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
Do you have a retirement plan but would like a second opinion? Call Philip Statler today, 863-285-3815. Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815.
What changes the world, even our daily lives, doesn't have to change your future. When life feels uncertain, where do you turn? A trusted voice, a measured response in the face of chaos, offering you a steady hand and a plan designed to account for even our darkest days. Imagine the difference that might make for your confidence. Calm in a sea of turmoil. Contact Statler Financial now for a virtual visit from the safety and comfort of your own home. Reach us at 863-285-3815 to set up your virtual visit. That's 863-285-3815. When the world changes, we remain steady, ready to serve you. It's what we do. Statler Financial, here for you when you need us most. 863-285-3815. Investment advisory services offered through Statler Financial Inc. No investment strategy can guarantee a profit or protect against loss in periods of declining values.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Philip Statler. He's president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. StatlerFinancial.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. They're also real active on Facebook, so if you're on there, just do a search for Statler Financial Services. They'll pop right up. They're always posting videos and articles, all sorts of good information there on their Facebook page. Again, search for Statler Financial Services. Now, today we're talking about defining our new normal, trying to figure that out. And even though a lot of things have changed this year, one thing is sure, you can't plan for a modern 21st century retirement with outdated 20th century concepts. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You need modern strategies and solutions to retire and stay retired in today's world. And as we have learned this year, anything can happen. That's why we like to have a plan. And I do want to talk about some of those mainstays of retirement, Philip. Social Security, it's been around for a while. People have used it for a number of years for their retirement. It's still a foundational piece for a lot of retirements today, but it doesn't seem to be as solid maybe as it was in the past. Can you talk a little bit about why that is and what we should be keeping an eye on with Social Security?
Absolutely. We talk about Social Security and we talk about income. And one of the things we talk about a lot on the show is really income. That's vitally important because as you retire, you got to have income from somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk about the old three-legged stool and how that's really changed now. And it doesn't really line up anymore. Now we kind of have a two-legged stool and we know what two-legged stools are like, right? They're kind of hard to
wobbly.
sit on. Yeah, a little wobbly. So Social Security has always been foundational, right? It's always been one of those legs. But we talk about now, Social Security, how long is it going to last? There's issues with the trust fund. What does that mean to people? Well, and I don't want people to get all afraid and scared that Social Security is not going to be there because I believe that Social Security is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It may not look like it does today, but it's always going to be some kind of Social Security there for folks. And so it still is somewhat, fundamental and foundational. But you have to remember, even today, Social Security really was only meant to be a stopgap. And today it only probably provides about 40% of the income that most people need when they get ready to retire. And so even though it's changing and who knows what it's going to look like down the road, it's still something that I think folks that are looking to retire right now, right, that are 5 to 10 years out from retirement, I think Social Security will be what we believe and see Social Security is today. Now, for the next generation back, that may be a different story, Jen, and I'm not sure what it'll look like for those folks and for our kids. But I think that if you are, 55, 50 years old, I think that Social Security will be what we know it to be right now.
Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about how we make sure that we make the most out of those benefits for those who are in line to start receiving those. How do we make sure we're getting the most out of that?
That's a good point, Jen. And there are different aspects of Social Security, right? When do I take it? Should I take it at 62? Should I take it at 65 when I get on Medicare? Or do I wait till my full retirement age? And maybe that's 66 in so many months, or maybe it's 67, like my age group. That's kind of an unknown, right? Or do I wait till 70 to start taking my Social Security? Well, that's a lot of options for people to wade through. And a lot of times I'll sit down with people and they'll say, well, I'm going to take it at 62. I might die before I get it all. And I get that, but there needs to be a methodology to kind of walk through why would you take it at 62, especially if you're healthy, you got good genes, your parents lived a long time. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to weigh into that decision, and we help people walk through that to determine when they need to take Social Security. If they don't take Social Security at 62, but they want to retire, where's their income going to come from until they actually start drawing Social Security? So there's a lot that goes into that decision and that process. And that's why you need to work with somebody that can help coach you through and into retirement. That's why we want to be on folks' team to help them do that.
And of course, you mentioned the fact that Social Security was intended to be a stopgap, and it also wasn't intended, I don't think, to be used as long as it is. People are living so much longer today than they used to. How do we make sure we don't run out of money during retirement? Aside from having those Social Security benefits, what else do we do to make sure we don't outlive our money?
Well, Jen, I think that's where we have instituted our retirement income plan. And that retirement income plan is truly a mechanism to say, look, here's my budget. Here's where my income's going to come from for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
And if I can lay out from 65 or 60 to age 100, here's where our income's coming from, then yeah, maybe we have to tweak it every now and then. Maybe inflation ends up being more than what we anticipate, but at least we have a general plan in place that we know the income we can count on for the next 35 or 40 years.
Mhm.
And to me, that's what's missing in a lot of folks' retirement plans. They don't have a true written income plan. They have a lot of products and they're taking stuff from here and there and everywhere. I mean, I had somebody that I do their taxes for, and they're literally getting 12 1099-Rs from their IRAs because they're taking it from 12 different, but that's not a plan. That's just taking a bunch of stuff from bunch of different products, folks. You need to have a plan in place. You know, running out of money in retirement is a big concern, and it's very common for folks that are thinking about retirement. You know, the last thing you want to do is turn 90 years old and have no more income to live on. You'll be too old to go back to work at that point, folks. You don't want to even think about that. And you don't want to be a burden to your children and grandchildren. So what can you do to help ensure that you don't run out of money and run out of income in retirement? It starts with picking up the phone. Simple enough, right? It's easy. Pick up the phone. Give me a call at 863-285-3815. Hey, request a meeting or request a phone consultation with either one. And we need to get to know you, your family, and your situation before we can really help you make any kind of decisions. Every retirement is different and unique. If we want to take that next step, we'll then craft an income plan for you. We'll walk you through that process. Give us a call. Let's get started right now. 863-285-3815. Call. Put us on your team. Let us help coach you into and through retirement. 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is with Statler Financial Services, and I am Jen Rezac alongside. Philip just gave you the number, and the website is statlerfinancial.com if you'd like to learn a little bit more. Philip, I want to talk a little bit more about, you were talking about what is not a plan, because sometimes people do have these ideas, they have these plans in their head. They might say, okay, here's all the different accounts I have. I'm going to take out this amount each year, this percentage, and that should give me enough to live on. That should last. Talk about what the problem is with a strategy like that.
Well, one of the issues is the uncertainty of what the market returns are going to be. It's called the sequence of return risk. And people forget about that as we head into retirement. It used to be, I remember when I first got into financial planning back in the 90s, it was the 5% rule.
Mm-hmm.
You could pretty much take 5% out of your portfolio and it would, hey, they'd say it lasts your, until you died. Today, they have the 4% rule. Well, why did it change? Circumstances changed. And if you look at the science behind it, it doesn't always work. Do you want to be on an airplane that has an 80% chance of getting from Orlando to Atlanta? I don't think so. And a lot of times when people put together those plans and everything is in a market, then there's a risk that it will not get you through retirement. That may be a 95% risk. I don't know about you, but if I'm going to get on a plane, I want a better than a 95% chance I'm going to get to where I'm going.
Yeah.
And that's really the difference, right? Is that we need to have a structured income plan that we know where that income is going to come from. and the market itself is not going to throw it off its course. That's the big thing to consider there.
But, as people try to put these plans together and they're figuring out how much they'll need each year, sometimes you might think that living in retirement is going to be cheaper in some aspects. I mean, I look at how much cheaper it was during all the shutdowns. I wasn't driving anywhere, wasn't going anywhere. It really wasn't costing me very much in gas. Does that kind of thing happen in retirement too? Do people actually spend less, or what do you think happens?
Yeah, we call that wishful thinking, Jen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It doesn't happen that way, but people think that they will spend, 70% of what their regular income is in retirement. And we find that not to be true. That most folks will spend pretty much exactly what they're spending right now in retirement. It may be spent on different things. Right? Mm-hmm. We're not traveling to work every day. We don't have to buy work clothes to go to work. So our spending habits change, but spending in total doesn't change a lot, right? We want to travel more. We want to do more things and go see the grandkids and spend time, on our bucket list. Those things aren't free. They cost money. And so we see that spending generally stays the same. And that's what we try to account for, is that what are you earning now? And let's try to match that and put together an income plan that's going to be right in line with that exactly.
So talk about how you do that. How do you help someone put together a modern budget for today's retirement plans so they can do those things they want, especially in those early years, but not run out when they need money for healthcare costs and other expenses?
It's an easy process, but it's difficult. Does that make sense?
Okay.
It's easy. You just have to go through your figure out where you're spending money and create that budget. It's difficult because people don't like to do it. Mm-hmm. They don't want to pick up. And I think a lot of it is they don't want to really know where they spend the money. And that's problematic because that's the process that needs to happen. We need to put together a budget so we know, what are we going to need in retirement? Is the house going to be paid for? Are the cars going to be paid for? Are we going to be debt free? Because that's a huge advantage if we're debt free, Jen.
Yeah.
As opposed to having to take money out of figure out where the money's going to come from to pay some debt. So encourage folks, put together a budget. That's really the first step in trying to create that income plan. When it comes to your financial future, folks, coming up short with the income that you need, that can be problematic. That's not what you want to have happen. You want to have the income you need in retirement. That's why we created the financial retirement income plan, just for that. But it starts with a risk analysis of your current portfolio, because most of the time when I sit down with folks, they have way more risk than what they should have in their portfolio if they're 5 to 10 years out from retirement. Call us. Let us walk you through our financial x-ray. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Do it right now. It's easy. It's simple. Even if you just want a 15-minute phone consultation, give us a call. 863-285-3815 to get that scheduled.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
Do you have a retirement plan but would like a second opinion? Call Philip Statler today, 863-285-3815. Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815. Wait and see. When you can't predict the future, that can be a good strategy. But wait and see isn't always a good strategy when it comes to your retirement. In these uncertain times, the decisions you make today regarding your savings and investments can have a huge impact on your retirement. Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial have seen the market at its highs, its lows, and everywhere in between. They know how emotional it can be for you right now. So here's what they're doing. They're clearing their schedule to talk with you on the phone or on a video call to listen to what concerns you have and then offer help. The number to call is 863-285-3815. They are local and independent advisors who can help guide you through this. Call Philip Statler and the Statler Financial team now. 863-285-3815 and schedule your time for a phone or a video meeting with the team. Call 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Investment advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac alongside Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. Philip is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year, and you can check him out online at statlerfinancial.com. They're also on Facebook. If you're on there, just do a search for Statler Financial Services. They'll pop right up. They're always posting videos and articles. Great resource for you on Facebook. Just search for Statler Financial Services. Today, we are talking about trying to define the new normal, which is pretty tough because things keep changing. It's hard to keep up with all of this when things keep changing. But, Philip, I want to point out that there is one thing that doesn't change, and that is the need to plan for risks during your years of retirement. There's always going to be threats to your money, and you always need to be planning for them. So that is our one constant in all of this. Philip, what risks can we expect to encounter during retirement? We could be talking about a couple of decades. A lot can happen during 20, 30, 40 years.
Well, you're right. It is. There's a lot of things that can come up. Inflation, we can get hyperinflation like we did back in the 80s. We had hyperinflation. Yeah. That could happen. Medical expenses could skyrocket, or you become, having a big medical issue. So medical costs could go up substantially. Mm-hmm. So those are a couple things. One is that you could miscalculate, right? How much you need in retirement as far as income. You could be taking too much income up front, and that puts pressure at the end where you don't have as much income to draw from. So a lot of things like that can be problematic, and can be some things that we experience in retirement if we're not careful and we don't set things up properly on the front end.
So we do know things like inflation will happen. I know you mentioned hyperinflation. I don't know about that, but we do know costs are going to go up. Think about what a house costs today compared to 20 years ago, or we've talked about this before, movie prices or anything like that. How do you account for things like inflation in your retirement plan?
Well, we know kind of what inflation's done the last 10 to 20 years. And so we kind of, that's no guarantee that that's what inflation is going to do going forward, right? But we build in some inflation gaps in our income plan. The other thing I didn't mention in the last question you asked, but what's another thing that can take a bite out of your retirement is taxes, right? Yep. Think about this, Jen. What has happened since January 1st? The government has put a lot of money into the system. Mm-hmm. We have given people checks. We have given businesses loans that'll be forgiven. Folks, money's not free. It has a cost. And that means, in my opinion, taxes are going to go up. The question is just when and how much. We already know, Jen, that in 2025, our tax rate is going to go back to where it was prior to the Trump election. So, that's a given. That's going to happen. So whether that's going to be enough, and I know it won't be, we'll have to go up more than that to make it work. But at what point do those guys in Congress get their act together and say, okay, we got to pay the bill, and have to raise taxes enough to start doing that? That's a big unknown. So one of the things we look at for folks is not just the inflation number. We look at taxes. What is that going to mean to folks? And what if the lowest tax bracket goes from 10% to 20%? That's a big deal. So, we look at some other tax savings things that we can start to put in place now while tax rates are the lowest you and I've ever seen.
So when you talk about some of these risks, taxes going up, the cost of things going up because of inflation, maybe even more volatility or some sort of downturn again in the markets, how do you show people what these things could do to their savings and their portfolio? What is your process like for putting some numbers out here so they can see what the damage could be to their savings?
Well, we run some quote hypotheticals, right? Here's what would happen if we had another 10 years of this market, if we had another 20 years of this market. Here's what it would look like. The other thing we do is we when we put together income plans, we purposely use ultra conservative growth numbers. Right, I see a lot of projections from my industry, from brokers out there that'll use hey, you're going to make 7, 8, 9%. How do they know? If my plan can work at 2%, think of how much better it'll be if we do get 5, 6, 7%, right? So when I put together my financial plans and my income plans, we purposely use ultra conservative income numbers that we know that, they should, no matter what, we should do better than that. Because if we can create the income they need with those numbers, then they should be good no matter what happens on the downside. And definitely they'll be better than what they expected on the upside. So I think that's important. Too many people in my industry like to use aggressive numbers. I'm the opposite. I want to use ultra conservative numbers that have the opportunity to do better than what I project. Folks, when we sit down and start looking at where you are, what's in your portfolio, one of the things that we do to determine what your risk looks like is we'll stress test your portfolio. We'll go back and see what would your portfolio have done in 2008 had you had what you have today. And eventually we'll have a scenario built for what's happened through the COVID-19 pandemic. That'll say, okay, here's how your portfolio did during this time period. That's a stress test. We want to stress test what could happen to your portfolio. We've seen a lot of challenging times recently. And so, we want to make sure that people are prepared for their retirement. And my concern is that's not what I see. I don't see people that are really and truly prepared for retirement. That's why we're here. We care about folks out there in our community. We care about what happens to them when they get ready to retire. We want to make sure they're going to have the income they need. Give us a call. Let us walk you through that process. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, and I am Jen Rezac alongside Philip as we talk a little bit about some of these risks and making sure that we are prepared. Can you talk a little bit about what we need to be doing with our portfolio? Can we find any success in trying to time the markets and just make sure that we're getting out and back in at the right time? Who can help advise us on that?
Jen, that's one thing that we can't go chasing returns. We can't figure out that, hey, let's get in and let's get out of the market. Let's do those things because we think we know more. That just doesn't happen, right? We need to have a plan in place. And one of the things I look at is if I can get your income where it needs to be. Now, I know what your Social Security is going to be because I can get the projections from Social Security. You can get those. If you're fortunate enough to get a pension, we can kind of know what those numbers are. We have to build that scenario of what are you going to be short? What's that shortfall going to be? And how are we going to fill that gap? And if we can put together that income plan that doesn't or isn't sensitive to the market, then what happens in the market downturns like we're seeing right now is not going to affect your income. And that's the way we build our plans. We don't want the market to determine what your income is going to look like. And we don't want our clients sweating when the market starts to tank. We want them to know that they're good. Their income is going to come in no matter what, and it's not going to affect their overall portfolio. So that's the key to having that income plan in place, Jim.
Tell me a little bit more about what proper diversification looks like, and should that be different for someone who's in retirement versus someone who is still a number of years out?
I think so. And one of the things I talk about a lot on the show is diversification. Because when you think of diversification, or when the industry and the brokerage industry thinks about that diversification, you see that pretty pie chart with all those different, all those different pieces of pie split up. That's the second layer of diversification that needs to take place. The first thing that needs to be determined is how much do you have diversified in risk and how much do you have diversified in safety? And unfortunately, that doesn't happen in the industry, right? That's one thing that independence allows to happen that working for the company store doesn't, right? We need to have that ability to determine how much of our money is safe and how much is at risk. Folks, and don't get this wrong, but everything that's in a market has risk. Stocks are in the market. Bonds are in a market. Commodities, gold, silver, that's a market. Anything that's in a market can go down in value. It is not safe. So that's a thing the industry looks at in that pie chart. They'll allocate stuff to bonds and say, okay, this is a safe part of your portfolio. It's not. You need to have that diversification between safety and risk. That's the first thing. Second, you diversify the risk portfolio into that various pie chart to protect that whole portfolio. That's the essence of diversification. Folks, if you don't know how you're diversified, then that can be problematic. There could be way more risk in your portfolio than you can even imagine. Give us a call. Let us walk you through our financial x-ray to determine how much risk you have in your current portfolio. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Don't wait until the market takes another big drop before you decide to find out how much risk you have in your portfolio. Let's do it before the next market drop. That way, you can be in a better position to weather the storm that may be coming. That's 863-285-3815 to get your financial x-ray. That's 863-285-3815.
Still having a hard time figuring out the new normal? You're not alone, but you know who could help? We'll talk about that on the other side of the break. Stay with us. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
What changes the world, even our daily lives, doesn't have to change your future. When life feels uncertain, where do you turn? A trusted voice, a measured response in the face of chaos, offering you a steady hand and a plan designed to account for even our darkest days. Imagine the difference that might make for your confidence. Calm in a sea of turmoil. Contact Statler Financial now for a virtual visit from the safety and comfort of your own home. Reach us at 863-285-3815 to set up your virtual visit. That's 863-285-3815. When the world changes, we remain steady, ready to serve you. It's what we do. Statler Financial, here for you when you need us most. 863-285-3815. Investment advisory services offered through Statler Financial Inc. No investment strategy can guarantee a profit or protect against loss in periods of declining values.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. Philip is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. You can check him out online. StatlerFinancial.com is the website. They're also on Facebook. If you're on there, just search for Statler Financial Services. They'll pop right up. They're always posting videos and articles, all sorts of great information. Again, Statler Financial. Financial Services on Facebook, or StatlerFinancial.com is the website. And if you're still having a hard time figuring out the new normal, I don't think you're alone. A lot of us still feel a little lost, and we're just uncertain, Philip. There's so many things that we still don't know how they'll play out this year. It's hard to know what to rely on. That's something I've experienced personally lately. I'm sure you're kind of in the same boat, Philip. I mean, my kids, for example, what will happen with their schooling in the fall? My daughter going to college. Will she go to college? Will she be at home her first semester because she can't go? If we just knew what was going to happen for sure, it would make it so much easier to get our mind around it. Is that something you've struggled with lately as well, or is this just us?
Well, you're right. It is there are things out there that make it a little harder to figure out what is the new normal going to be, and when are we going to get back to closer to the old normal, right?
Yeah.
And we're dealing with that same thing here in our community. Is it, what are we going to do? When are schools going to open? And when's everybody going to go back to work, right? We don't know, and so that does become an issue of how do we really navigate through the economy, right? Because all that's going to have implications on the economy, the markets, that type of thing. And so the sooner we can move forward, I think the better off we'll be. But that there's still going to be questions I think probably the rest of this year, maybe even the first part of next year, Jen.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll get back to some kind of normal, but I think the questions won't really be answered until later in the year, first of next year.
Yeah. And Philip, I think a lot of people are just looking for help through all of this, whether it is some of the emotional problems that people are having, mental or emotional problems. There are people they can turn to for help. Some people are facing questions with their faith and spiritual issues, and they know who they can turn to for help on that. Talk a little bit about, Philip, for people who are concerned about the uncertainty with their finances, some of that uncertainty with how to plan for the future with their money. How do we get some guidance on that?
That's a good point, because I think I've heard from several people who have like 401ks and some retirement accounts, and they said, like, who do we turn to? Who do we, our 401k, there's really nobody to really talk to. And so they've had issues on that front. And so that's another reason we're here to help answer those questions and to help them walk through what they need to be doing or how they need to be doing it. That's an area that is an issue that people need help and need guidance, especially if they're getting close to retirement, that it is kind of problematic right now.
Talk a little bit about the qualities we should be looking for with getting that financial professional who can help us.
Well, I think there's several things you need to look for, right? One is, what type of advisor is that? Is that somebody that is, a investment advisory firm where they have a fiduciary responsibility to do what's in their client's best interest, or is that just a brokerage firm where they just have to live by a suitability standard? And people will hear that and say, well, what does that mean? It's a big difference, right? That whether somebody has to put you in a suitable investment or one that's best for you. So we have that distinction. There's the difference between being independent and working for a company. If you're independent firm, they can use all the tools that are in the toolbox. Working for a company, you don't have that. They don't have that flexibility sometimes to get what they need. So fiduciary, independence, somebody that's got all the tools in the toolbox, somebody that's got some tax background can be helpful, because their taxes are going to play a bigger and bigger role when it comes to retirement planning down the road.
Talk a little bit about how you and your team help people adapt to new changes when they happen. As I said at the beginning of the show, I have learned lately that I'm not as good at adapting to new situations as I thought I was. How do you help guide people through some of these changes?
Well, it can be difficult because it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, right? So we get set in our ways and we think that we've got to sit down in front of somebody all the time to get the information. And it reminds me, I go back to the days of Space Mountain at Disney World, right? When you got done riding Space Mountain at the end, you came through this futuristic world.
Yeah.
Of talking to somebody on a TV, having a robot. Jen, we're there. We're talking to people on the TV. We've got cameras set up. We can communicate and see them. I've been really fortunate that I have a new grandchild. And so we've been able to FaceTime and Zoom. And I can't imagine if we didn't have those technology tools in place. But it's embracing those and learning to use them effectively, right? So we're here and our office is open. We're meeting with people here. We're meeting with people on the telephone, and we're meeting with people through Zoom meetings all the time. And so, adapting to those technologies are going to make it easier in the future for people to get the information they need and to have that relationship when we get stuck in places like this. I tell people that this has just been another case of practicing our disaster recovery plan, right? So working from home, we had to practice our disaster recovery plan. So it's in some ways we've benefited from this little bit of a break in what's normal. Folks, our team here at Statler Financial is not only committed to help you retire, but to help you stay retired as well. And I got to tell you, that's pretty important, because the one thing about retirement is it's pretty much a one and done deal. You don't want to have to come back out of retirement and go back to work because your investment's tanked and now you don't have the income. We need to put together an income plan to help get you into and through retirement. We're offering this relationship to help guide you through your financial concerns. We want to make sure that you're equipped with an income strategy, an investment strategy, a tax planning strategy, a healthcare plan, and a legacy plan, all those things to help you feel confident about your retirement. And this should all be part of your retirement plan. And that's what we're offering today. Give us a call. Let us walk you through our process. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Let's do this real quickly before we close out the show. Are there any warning signs, any red flags we should be aware of when trying to find someone who can help us, especially given everything that we've learned with everything that's happened this year?
Well, one thing that I look at, Jen, is if they only come up with one solution, right? So if you sit down with somebody and all they're talking about is annuities. Well, we'll use this annuity, we'll use that annuity, and all they talk about is annuities, then that's a danger sign. How much of my portfolio is going to be safe? That should be the question. Do you truly know your financial advisor? For that matter, does your financial advisor truly know you? I want to know your goals, your priorities, your vision for your retirement. And I ask that you call me at 863-285-3815 right now, or visit our website, statlerfinancial.com. Set up a no obligation consultation. What does it hurt to get a second opinion? Give us a call, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
863-285-3815. And be sure to tune in again next week for more insights from Philip. I'm Jen Rezac. We're glad you spent some time with us here today. We hope you have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you next time.
Information provided during the Statler Financial Radio Show is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No strategy is guaranteed to be successful.
This radio show is a paid placement.